Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good afternoon everybody, this is Militia Man. Hey, this afternoon we had a wonderful talk with PompeyPeter Daytrader, and we have an audio that we'd like to share with you. I hope you enjoy it. So it's not too terribly long, it's about 26 minutes, but there's a lot of good information that goes over the ISX, the relationship with the dinar and the dollar and things like that. So it's pretty good. Hope you enjoy it and relax and enjoy. Hey, good afternoon everybody, Militia Man here with PompeyPeter and Daytrader. We're just gonna have a bit of a powwow, so enjoy. And we're going to get on started with something to the effect of about the ISX stock exchange. I think Daytrader has something he wants to mention on that. So after that, I'll go to you, Daytrader.
Okay. We know that there are a large number of stocks that trade on the ISX that are a dinar in value, trading or less, trading on the ISX. NASDAQ has a minimum requirement of $1, and by the way, that's not just a dollar. You've got to have that record for 3 days or more. What they don't want is for something to trade for $1.10 and start falling down through $1. They're trying to avoid that.
Sure.
What that suggests to me is, and by the way, if you think about that, that also means that we can't open at 1-to-1 with Iraq.
Absolutely not.
Because one dinar has got to be worth more than $1.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So
yeah.
that would be the first piece of that. The second was well, that's a different topic. If, for example, and I'm just throwing something out in the air to get help people getting an understanding, is, for example, if the ISX was going live tomorrow, the CBI can't wait till tomorrow to push the button. There's not enough time to get all of the data to the ISX, because it isn't just to the ISX. They've got trading partners all around the world.
Yep.
They have to go worldwide. That information would have to go worldwide. And ISX couldn't open on NASDAQ if both events happened on the same day. So that would mean the CBI has to go first.
Could you guesstimate the time on that? I mean, I know we're all electronic and that. Guesstimate 24 hours, 48 hours?
Yeah, I can't even estimate it. I couldn't tell you how many places the ISX or the NASDAQ exchange would have to send that information to, distribute it out.
Well, when we have already the ISX, ESX, etc., it's not, they weren't just notified about going live into the future on the NASDAQ. It's been a few years, and so they've had to give everybody a time to get their paperwork together, their valuations, if you will, or their the support documents that they need for I'm missing the word, but it's for the fundamentals of each company. They would probably have to have that already, effectively,
yes, that's probably happened some time ago.
Yeah,
I would imagine. The thing about the valuations on the companies is they're going to change,
right?
But it's going to be rate dependent,
right? And that probably would have to be a very tight-lipped, connected scenario, because they know they're going to make an adjustment, but they can't expose that adjustment yet until it's time. And so it could probably go kind of fast, because wouldn't it be a system of just being a population? So all of a sudden, once the dinar has a valuation applied to it, it goes right on to their whatever they call it. Is it the par value or whatever they're going to use, their benchmark? And then it would go and it would just populate the spreadsheet effectively like in an accounting.
That's what I was thinking. That's why
it's not going to be manual input. They would have the files already in place, and it's a matter of feeding a spreadsheet, database, whatever mechanism they're using to populate information in their system.
And there's an article that I have just recently got today. I haven't opened it yet, but it's from Rabies Securities today. So there might be something in that article that gives rise to the thought that maybe something is happening sooner than later, because I think the article that we talked about in the past was their words were somewhere around the 29th of January. And maybe if that has a possibility of changing, we don't know yet. But at this moment, we were looking at this having to have happened, an exchange rate populated prior to that time frame to stabilize the currency effectively. Because once it goes live, they're going to need to do what they do to manage it in some shape or form, whether that's a direct manage. A float, whatever they're going to do.
And to your point, Ali's finance minister friend contact, I mean, he's very careful with his language and what he says, obviously, but he was talking about the end of the month. And I said to Ali, well, if this information is being leaked and it is coming out at the end of the month, then you can bet dimes to donuts that is therefore going to come out before the end of the month. And he said, absolutely, Peter, absolutely.
Yep, that's in that audio that we have up on the Patreon. It's it's a good one, and I referenced it in today's YouTube video as well. So there's some good information for everybody that's following along where we are. But this ISX, ESX, in the near future is going to need an Article 8 compliant currency exchange rate. You guys would agree with that? Okay, good.
Absolutely. And that means announcing an international currency. Just to clear up a question, I'd had a couple of private messages, but there's also asked in Discord by one of the members about the reason for the US delegation turning up. Now, obviously, we had that last night with our super news hound Samson. We had that information, and we guys during my bathroom break. Keep this clean on here. During my bathroom break, as you call it, we had a little text conversation about that. Now, people have asked, and the question is posed, why are they coming? What is the purpose of this visit when it's been posted and there are articles to say that Halabusi is supposedly going to Washington, and why are they coming? And the suggestion's been made out there that they were coming to discuss the military deployment. That was actually in an article, about the continuation of US troops in Iraq. Steve, do you want to pick that up for me? Do you ever thought, as we discussed about it?
Sure. There was not a lengthy discussion, but it was suggested that they were here for something other than what we were seeing in the article. And one of the possibilities that we discussed was to actually meet with the CBI rather than Sudani.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I think you quite correctly posted that the actual army deployment, the military issues, had been sorted out a few days beforehand.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so Sudani has talked about with the USA side a few days ago, and with respect to that, we don't have a problem with the United States sticking around in country.
If I remember correctly, he did that over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. I think that was done and dusted part of that.
Okay. I didn't catch all
if
that.
It wasn't to deal with
I
that.
I caught it today though that he's okay with having, or yesterday he's okay with having the presence, U.S. presence, Sudani.
Yeah, there are articles about that. So we know, and again, this is in articles telling us, we're not dreaming this. We know that the United States Treasury have people here overseeing what's going on in terms of the audit with the currency, the forex in Iraq. I mean, it's not a million miles away to assume, it's not a huge leap of faith that they could be here in an official capacity to see, shall we say, how things are going in that area, and therefore want to sit down a little sort of plenary and summation session with the governor of the CBI, especially as the governor of the CBI Galay did not go to the United States with that group delegation that previously went, my recollection.
So
is that right?
So to have this right, that there was a delegation that has showed up to Washington this weekend or within days, but Galay was not there, and therefore it created an environment to have them bring.
No, Galay, the governor of the CBI, didn't go on the previous meeting that went to the United States, went to Washington. I think it was Fawd Hussein who went, but he took with him the finance minister and several other people, but he sent his deputies or undersecretaries or people like that. And I think actually that was something Petra made a reference to, I think.
I'm just trying to get wind with that delegation. How far back was that delegation?
Within hours from that article. Within hours that we were discussing last night, Steve bailed me out here. Daytrader to bail me out here. I think that was within a couple of hours ago.
So so there was a delegation that arrived in Washington. So if I have this clear, arrived in Washington, and the governor of the CBI.
No, in Baghdad.
Okay, that's where I got confused. Now I knew that there was a delegation that arrived in Baghdad, which was Brett McGurk, right? Or no, wait, back up. He was in Kurdistan. And then there was a delegation.
Remember, the delegation to D.C. happened probably a week or better ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so part of the UST was a bit upset that they had called for him to be there, and he wasn't there.
Okay. Now I'm with you now on the same page. Okay, good. I just was trying to get around my head. So there's two separate issues here. One was in Kurdistan with Brett McGurk, and then a delegation in Baghdad. Right?
Yes.
Right.
There we go. Okay. I like it. That tells us a story, because the Kurdistan is about what? It's about the HCL and the Sinjar agreement, et cetera, et cetera. And so what is it waiting for? The same thing as we are waiting for, because it's going to have to be applied to the HCL. And then the 2023 budget hasn't been exposed yet, and that is to be the final touches, if you will, should be talked about, because if the CBI didn't show up accordingly, and the delegation showed up, I wouldn't be surprised if that delegation is comprised of the MCOE and with our boys from that delegation that arrived in November with the auditing firm and et cetera back then. So yeah, could be very, very, very interesting in short term.
Well, and the timing of it seems incredible. Mm-hmm. We've got this apparent change in attitude towards the budget. You know, that they were going to have to make an emergency recall of Parliament to sort the budget.
And that was scheduled for January 5th at one time.
Exactly that, Daytrader. It was down for the 5th. And then they said on the 9th, on the very first session, it was going to be top of the list on the agenda. It was going to be the budget because they've got to get it done, and so on and so forth. And it's got, it's somehow got layered back, and you know, it's caused a little bit of consternation amongst the folks. And I said, look, don't worry about it. And we've seen Militia Man. I think you better come and take me out over here, boss, because I think there are a couple of articles today that were really saying they're waiting for the final amendment. They're hanging on before it goes to Parliament. There's one thing they've got to do: final amendment. Well, I wonder what the flipping heck that is.
Yeah, they've been talking about the final touches. The final touches, it has to be. How do you have a budget that's 90%? No, it's 95%. Then come out and say it's over 95%. You know, that's how they're wording it. So yes, it's obviously a big issue. The other one of the things that they've been talking about is they're explaining more and more in depth why the U.S. dollar has been pulled effectively. Is because of the corruption. It's because of the high-ranking superior politicians. It's the mafias. And so they were funneling money back to Iran, and they had to cease that from existence to the way that we know it. And they're explaining it a little more in depth to citizens. They basically are saying, hold on a second. It's because of they were doing things that were not supposed to be done outside of the international world comfort zone, if you will, because if they're stealing and smuggling the U.S. dollar, it goes against the sanctions, etc. So there came a point in time where they had to just stop it, which created another environment, which created the pricing to go up in the streets, and so that it started pinching the citizens more and more and more for food and services, which now brings back to put more pressure on the CBI to adjust the exchange rate back to where it was before. That has the value so they can compensate for not having the dollar. They're saying they have the dollar only for a few different items. We all know that it's for medical issues, potentially education, medicine, right, education, and travel. So. And it's in minimal amounts, but nonetheless, it has to be on the platform, and it has to go through electronic trading. And then, again, they're talking more about that platform, about the platforms in the future. And so the dinar, too, at some point in time, will be also on a platform, which would beg to say that they would be monitored. So even when this gets going, even though they're trading partners are around the region, they're going to know where the money's going, the money flow, whether it's digital dollar, digital dinar. Some of those things to think about, and that's where we are at this stage with the borders and all that stuff. The push come to shove, and for this to get done and to be interlinked, they don't have a whole lot of time. And one of the people that we know, that we've heard some private intel that we get from around the world, has stated specifically that there is some consequences that could happen if they miss their, let's call it a window. If they miss the window, they only have so much time to get it done. And we're starting to see the evidence of that because of the delegations that showed up, them educating the citizens about the platform, the reasoning for that, for the transparency, get rid of the corruption. And then they come out and are telling the audience, if you will, about small coins, currency, if it's damaged, this is which is valid, which is not valid. Those things are
That
in
was
the
a
news.
great article today. Yeah.
Those are in the news today. And so you have to ask yourself, well, did they ever get rid of all the coins back 30 years ago? Probably not. Coins last a long time.
Well, why are they talking about it now?
So they're talking about coins. So obviously something is about to give, because I haven't heard of them talking about putting cellophane tape on currency. You know what I'm saying? It'll pass if you have this. If it has too much ink on it, it won't pass. You know, it's going through that stuff. But then, yeah, the citizens don't use coins. Not right now, they don't.
And just to add to that, what you were saying there previously about the situation with the dollar availability and so on, and the controls of it. On Tuesday last week, the Council of Ministers came out hammering dinar. We have confidence in our currency.
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Right.
And from now on, all the government departments, pensions, salaries, benefits, all going to be dealt with in dinar, not in dollars.
I have to say, if you don't mind me interrupting here, that article that I talked about today is talking about UN Security Council 1463. It hasn't been completely lifted. Part of Chapter 7. And they're talking about it, and they're describing it in the educational process about where we are and why the dollar is moving. And because of this DFI fund, and then what the United States has done, they have a hold on that oil money going through the Federal Reserve. They can and have the mechanism to be able to trade their oil outside of the U.S. dollar if, in my opinion, if and when they change the exchange rate and they become Article 8 compliant. It's like the last shackle that comes off. And that's, I think if you read it in that article, you'll see that's the second time I've seen it, by the way, within the last 4 or 5 days. And that to me is, I didn't realize it, but that's what I read. And you may have to read it, Steve.
Well, I did read it, and I have some observations.
Okay.
First of all, I cannot find anything in the last resolution that was done in February of last year.
2022.
Yes, and I can't find a reference to 1483.
Is it 1483? I misspoke. Sorry.
And it's at the only place that I can find it in a quick scan, because this thing is like 9 or 11 pages.
Mm-hmm.
The only place that I see the resolution number that they talk about that set this up was in the very heading, and there was no reference to it in the body. So I'm digging back through the resolutions to find out when it was last mentioned and what they said about it. Because my full understanding of that resolution in last year was that Kuwait had already received the last payment from Iraq. The money was done.
They mentioned that today, 52.4 billion.
And that's closed to the point where this resolution in February of last year specifically said that the committee, or the commission rather, the Reparations Commission, had to do an audit, and prior to the end of the year of 2022, if there was any money left, they had to give it to Iraq, which means they had to have all of their internal audits completed. And that was in November that Iraq received that money, and it was $80 million.
Yes, that's what I heard too.
And
Something similar, yes.
The reference was in the resolution was that that was completely done, and that was the only thing left on the table for Iraq on Chapter 7. And it was completed. So I'm a little puzzled about what I'm hearing and reading in these articles. And that's why I'm going back through the resolutions.
This is the second time I've written about it. There was an article that came out. They talked about the DFI and they talked about this resolution, but they also stated that there was another component hit kind of like in there, and they kind of had it like the U.S. Treasury is almost like a political hold on them as opposed to a legal hold. I think the legal aspect of it has been resolved as far as them allowing to get that money from the DFI fund from the oil on a regular basis, but it was always going through the Federal Reserve. And now I think I got a feeling that they're about at that position to allow them to relinquish that last little political hold on them, if you will. And I think
that's why I'm going through the resolutions, because something doesn't quite register correctly for me.
Okay.
I have to go look.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I get it. It seems a little bit odd because they're basically, how I read it today is that they have the ability to use the dinar and buy or sell oil in the dinar right now. They could. Have they done it yet? I guess not.
Well, we'll get it figured out and then let everybody know. But it may be a moot point too.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a good afternoon conversation. I appreciate you guys taking the time to out of your holiday. And anything else, PompeyPeter?
Militia Man.
What's that?
Well, we don't have Martin Luther King Day here.
Oh yeah, well.
It's not a holiday today. But
no.
every day's a holiday today. So.
Yeah, that's right. Every day's a holiday for you guys over there across the pond. It's all good.
We wish.
Daytrader, PompeyPeter, great afternoon.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
God bless.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.